Daniel, thank you very much for inviting me to your podcast. I'm super honored to be here. My name is Lucia Matuonto. I'm an author, podcaster, and also physical therapist. I worked for many years with children with special needs in many countries. And that's why I decided that I want to write for kids. I'm originally from Brazil, Rio de Janeiro. I speak Portuguese as my mother language. And I also learned how to speak English, German, Italian, and now Spanish. So it's all about learning new, different languages and cultures.
Awesome. And is your German as good as your English is?
No, no, absolutely not. Actually, I studied for 3 years when I lived in Germany. I lived in Nuremberg. And basically, I studied for 5 hours a day, 5 days a week. And I was fluent. But now that I stopped to speak in German, it's like I'm forgetting things. It's like use it or lose it.
Yes, I can feel you because I grew up bilingually. My father comes from Argentina, so I can also speak Spanish. But I have to admit that I got rusty because I'm not using it every day. And I'm forgetting a lot, which is, it's a shame.
It is. But I can understand German and I can speak, of course, but not as before. I believe that my level was C1. So I believe that if I start talking again and reading again, it will come. But now I'm moving.
How important are books to you in your life?
Books for me means traveling, means knowing different words, knowing different people, and learning. Books for me were always very important. When I was a kid, I used to prefer books over dolls. And my friends used to go to my house because I had many dolls. And instead of staying with them, I was reading books and drawing while they were playing with my dolls, which they thought was kind of weird. But it's like I've always wanted to be an author. I have always loved reading ever since I was a kid, as I was telling you, growing up in Rio. So basically, books allowed me to visit new countries and cultures. And so it was my way of traveling the world without even leaving my room. And so to publish my own book means the world to me.
Yes, that is awesome. And so has it a connection to your podcast? Because you are actually also a podcaster. Maybe you could tell us or explain to us what the Relatable Voice podcast is all about.
Relatable Voice, it's all about stories. Like, I'll try to explain to you. I've always had a lot of stories to share. I even started writing when I was 8 years old.
Wow.
I was even about to be featured on a podcast, but it never worked out. And I will tell you why, because maybe I was always self-conscious that it was because of my English level. When you feel like maybe they see that I'm not an English native speaker. So what happened is I figured if no one will have me on their show, I need to create my own show myself.
But
the global lockdown really pushed me to actually go through with it. I was living here in Spain, and especially because we were all lacking human connection during this time. And I forgot to tell you, I live half of my time in the US and half in Spain.
Oh, cool. I didn't know about that.
Yeah. And when the global pandemic started, I was here in Spain. So I didn't know anyone here. I had just moved here. So I said, I need to do something. And then I decided to start writing. And after publishing my first book, I created this podcast.
Cool. I like this story. So in a way, you felt insecure about your English, right?
Yes, in reality, I felt as if people wouldn't want to have someone who was not native speaker. For example, there is a podcast that I really like, and I talked to the host for like 5 to 10 minutes to explain why I want to tell my story. And he said, okay, I'll contact you. And he never contacted me. I never received any email or call from him. So it made
Yeah,
me
it,
feel
it hurts.
really,
Yeah.
yeah, I said, maybe it's because I'm not an English native speaker. But
Mhm.
now I don't feel like this anymore.
Yes, I am very happy to hear that you don't feel this anymore. And I assume you could learn a lot by podcasting and having so many guests.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
could you maybe tell us more about the relatable voice? Could you maybe tell us a little bit more about the RV? Because
Yeah.
RV means, I think it means recreational vehicle.
Yeah,
Is it possible?
recreational vehicle. Yes, and for example, RV stands for Relatable Voice. And the idea behind the podcast, the RV podcast, is that it's a virtual road trip around the world where I'm chatting with people like I would meet in my travels. So we are virtually driving an RV and
Yes,
listening to
I love that.
relatable stories.
That is really awesome. Yeah, and you have different guests, and the topics range really largely, right? So you can have topics like astronomy, you can have topics like self-development, you can have topics like a horror, Western book. And
Yeah.
so I think that there is something for everyone out there because it varies so much that you can really relate with the author, or sometimes there are also film directors, right?
Mhm. Exactly. Actors. I even interviewed two actors that are in some soap operas in the US. And Daniel, I think that all people, regardless of background or fame, have a story to tell.
Yeah.
And I believe that these conversations will enrich our lives. And through the power of connection, we can push for understanding and acceptance. That is
Yes.
the idea behind this podcast. Because I interview people from many different countries, and it's so rewarding to have the chance to receive them on the show. I mean, to give them a ride. For me, is priceless. And I believe that the more we share our stories, the more we realize how much we all relate to each other.
Yes, yes. I couldn't agree more. And that's exactly why the relatable voice struck a chord with me. That's why it's in my heart. Maybe it sounds cheesy, but it is
Thank
how it is.
you.
And
Thank you very much.
Lucia, maybe you could tell us about one of your favorite stories or guests, or maybe a story which really stuck with you, or something that really had an impact on you, maybe.
Yeah, I remember there is an episode that I will never forget. One of my favorite interviews was with Hans Kuber. He is a fantastic children's book author who wrote a book inspired by his young daughter who passed away. She was only 10 months. And what caught my attention was his strength and love. It really came across in that interview. And he even sung some of the songs he used to sing for her. Her name was Aviva. So it was a really special episode, and I'll never forget it. There are so many good episodes that it changed my life. Some people who spoke with me, most or maybe many of them, not even taught me good things about life, but also we became friends.
Yes.
And then, I became friends with many of my guests, and I even invited some of them to be part of my anthology, Relatable Voice.
Cool. And tell us a little bit more then about the Anthologies series.
Yes, the anthology is about, it's like a road trip to lift people up. For example, we had so many bad things happening in 2020, 2021 with the pandemic and many other things. So I decided that we needed to make people smile. So I invited 14 authors, and they decided to jump on the road with me. And we created the Relatable Voices anthology. It's a road trip to make people smile. So we have like 23 short stories.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is that in the end, we will feel good after reading these stories. This is the idea, to make people smile.
Sounds very interesting.
The book is a paperback and ebook.
Mm-hmm.
So the ebook is being sold on Amazon, and we have the paperback. In reality, this was a very special issue of this book because each story has an illustration based on the story. So it was a lot of work. Imagine 14 people deciding what you want your story be done. But it was very worth it. And now I'm planning another anthology. All right, I can stop having ideas.
Yeah, sometimes we have too many ideas, right? And we have not enough time. I know that. So maybe I would like to go back in time to your third episode, which was, I think it was about February 2021 with, I think it was with a public speaker called Brandon, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
With Brandon.
And he has asked you a great question, and I would like to show it right now to you, what he asked back then. Let's see if it works.
Lucia, what episode are you at right now?
You are my third guest.
Right, so I'm number 3.
Yeah.
Right, so when you're at number 300, do you think you'll be better at communication or not?
No, of course it will be way better than now.
Of course, right?
For sure. Yeah.
Or if you take a Joe Rogan who's done thousands of episodes, right? He got better over time. So it's the same analogy here, right?
Did you understand the audio?
Yes, very well.
So what happened in the meantime? Did you become a better communicator after almost 250 episodes? If you compare yourself, what changed?
I believe that I feel more secure now. I'm not afraid of saying some words wrongly or some preposition. I was always very self-conscious about my English. Maybe now I feel more confident. No, I absolutely feel more confident. And for example, I was always concerned about saying to or for and on and in.
Mhm.
And this was something that I was so afraid. I said, no, how can I interview people if I have so many, like insecurities? Starting this podcast helped me a lot to be a better speaker. And this is a happy accident, I believe so, because I work with my English mentor every week to ensure I'm always improved. This for me is also one of the reasons I started this podcast, just like you, Daniel.
Yeah.
I
Awesome.
really want to be able to speak fluently without feeling insecure. And because also I'm addicted to learning, especially languages. I love learning languages. And the podcast also allows me to speak with people from all around the world with different accents about different
Yeah.
subjects. So as for you, I believe it's the same. So that also
Yes.
helps with my language learning journey. And I will have to tell you, I lived in Dubai. I lived in Bahrain. My husband is Italian, American Italian. And I speak Portuguese also with my mom and with my
Mhm.
daughter. Sometimes she's fluent in English. And I always used to speak and understand different accents. But now I feel that I can even understand some accents that were
Yeah.
very difficult before. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You really leveled up, right? And
Yeah.
all of that in less than 2 years, right?
Less than 2 years. I started in February, and I'm very lucky that I'm doing this as it gives me the opportunity to practice my English
Mhm.
every day, considering, Daniel, that I live in a non-English speaking country now. I'm in Spain, but I keep speaking English the whole day. I keep listening to podcasts. As actually, I'm your fan. I'm listening to your
Oh,
podcast. It's
now I am
helpful.
blushing.
Yes. And this for me is priceless to be able to know amazing people, lovely people, and still learning with their life experience and also learning English. That's priceless. I don't want to
Yes.
stop interviewing people.
It's really
Never.
priceless. This is
Yeah.
really well put like
Yeah.
this. It's
Yeah.
priceless. Yeah. And you mentioned an English mentor. So do you still
Mhm.
take lesson or what did you mean
Yeah.
exactly by English mentor?
Yeah. She started as my English teacher. But then what we do now, we have classes 2 to 3 times a week. What we do is we prepare the episodes together. So what I
Oh,
do is, I
cool.
research about my guests. For example,
Yes.
if I have someone tomorrow who is an entrepreneur, for example, and I will have to know everything about her
Mhm.
business, where she lives, because I'm driving to her city. Yeah, so I need to know what she
Of
does
course.
for a live, where she lives, how's the weather there, because I need to know how the road is. I'm joking. But anyways, so basically I research everything about the person. I prepare the questions, and then we work together in a sense that she asks me, why do you think this question is relevant? And then I explain to her.
Mhm. Mhm.
And we work on the vocabulary, of course, some expressions that maybe I can bring out.
Yes. I love
Like,
that.
because yeah, phrasal verbs are very, very difficult to learn, and you need to speak every day that expressions to be able to learn, because there is no rule. Like
Mm.
German, we have in German many, many rules, but in English, phrasal verbs, There are
Yeah,
no
yeah.
rules. So basically, not all the interviews I prepare with her, because sometimes I interview 2 to 3 people a day, sometimes 12 people a week. So
Wow,
I don't do it
that's
like
crazy.
I can. Yes, I could, but I prepare the ones that are more different
Yeah.
or difficult. For example, when I had to interview someone who talks about, let me see, there's so many guests, but talking about cars. I
Hmm.
just released her interview. She works in the car industry. And I said, oh my gosh, I don't know anything about mechanics.
Me
So I had to
neither.
learn. So this is wonderful. It's a wonderful way to learn.
Yeah, I think I will have to try to find a teacher who is going to do the same thing with me, right?
I'll give you her contact. I'm
Yes,
sure she
yes.
will love to work with you, Daniel.
Maybe
Mhm.
you have a favorite idiom or a favorite expression or something like that that you want to tell.
Yeah, my favorite language is Italian. I love Italian, so romantic. Also, I love when they say ciao bella. That means hello, beautiful. So ciao bella, it's my favorite expression in Italian. And I started learning Italian when I was, I don't know, very young, because I just
Yeah.
love the language. And I had the chance to visit Italy, and I said, I can't go there and do not understand well, because, I speak Portuguese, which is a Latin, Roman, comes from Latin, and it's very easy to understand Spanish and Italian, but I couldn't speak. So when I started learning and I went to Italy, I said, I love this language. It's what I want to speak.
Yeah, and
I love
actually, Italian is the language that I am currently learning. So
Wow.
I took like 4 lessons now with an online teacher in which I try to just speak in Italian. And I had Italian back in the day when I was at school. I had about 2 semesters, but it was not enough, right? 2 semesters. And you know how it works back in school. It was only grammar and
Yeah.
vocabulary without speaking the language. So my main goal is to speak Italian. Yes.
Don't give up. It's so beautiful. And when you are in Italy, it's like it's as if you were in a movie. You were pizza and all
Yeah,
the
yeah.
traditions, and you feel like I am at Eat, Pray, and Love.
Yes. And do you have maybe a tip that you want to share with our listeners when it comes to learning languages?
Mhm. I like everybody has a different way to learn. In my case, what helped me a lot was to write, like journaling every day. Even simple words like today I went to the beach, I saw a friend, and then progress.
Mhm.
And also, of course, listening to podcasts is fantastic because, for example, you were driving. You were doing nothing, just driving. No. Turn on the internet, yeah, and start
Yes,
listening to the Relatable Voice or my Fluent
absolutely.
podcast and learn different expressions. So, but basically what I used to tell my friends who wants to start learning English or other language, I always told them, right. So in my opinion, start writing is an excellent way to learn and also to use creativity.
Yes, I like that. And also creativity, I like it very much. And Lucia, maybe you could tell us where we can find you online.
Of course. My website is www.luciamatuonto.com. Also, Daniel, I have now my own company where I help authors to showcase their book. So my company is Relatable Media and their website is www.relatable relatable-media.com.
Great. And I will put the links in the show notes. So then it will be
Wonderful.
easier for the listeners to follow. So thank you very much, Lucia. It was really awesome. And keep going with your podcast. And it's incredible. As I said in the beginning, I mean, I have never seen something like that. Someone who is putting out so many interviews. And I can't believe it. In my case, maybe I make it one interview in 2 weeks or so, and you are doing several interviews a day. It's amazing. Thank you so much, Lucia.
Thank you, Daniel, for having me. And I have to tell you that your English is wonderful. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Keep speaking. Don't give up speaking Italian. Thank you again.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much also for the article, because you were featured on the Los Angeles Tribune newspaper, which is awesome.
Thank you. And you know, Daniel, I was featured 2 weeks ago, I think. I didn't
really?
expect this. I was featured and they called me star podcaster, with which I was so like, oh my God.
Okay.
God. And then I didn't even share this because I was like ashamed. No, I'm not.
Congratulations. Yes,
Yeah.
it would be awesome. Actually, yeah, when I discovered your podcast, I was over the moon. I mean, I'm still over the moon because it really struck a chord with me. It's right up my alley. And also because you have to know that I use podcasts to improve my English. And because you have so many guests, I think you had about 250 episodes so
Yes.
far, right?
Yeah, it's 246, but I have to release at least 10 more episodes this week. So 250 is
Yeah, it's
new
incredible.
for the podcast. But I also have a talk show that is called Uncut with Lucia. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah,
It's by
so
wordauthors.com. Yeah, at least I interviewed more 30 people there. It's a lot. It requires courage, Daniel. I have to tell you.
yeah, I can imagine.